Hi guys, Johnny here from the Business Babble, and we have the wonderful Belinda Roberts MBE on today. And topics of discussions are?
We're talking about entrepreneurship, we're talking about challenges that businesses are facing. We're going to talk about a lot of things, and I'm not exactly known for being non-controversial.
I love it. So guys, stay tuned and like, share and subscribe. Thanks very much. Aye. Do you know what? Yeah.
Because remember, you
there
could
are
choose.
times. So we made a rule here, Belinda, that we will not edit anything because it becomes more authentic. It's not because we're lazy. Or we don't know how to do it.
I love that though. I think that's brilliant. And authenticity is absolutely key to everything as far as I'm concerned.
Correct.
Well, we see when you're doing something like this, we actually said to ourselves, when we get to 80 episodes in, we'll look back on how we started and go, oh my God. Oh. But we'll also go, oh, look how much we've grown. And I think it's, so we're not sounding hypocritical. I think we're trying to teach people.
Our lesson for the first episodes were when we started them. We used to do 10 or 15 takes. It's not good. And we used to listen back to them. And then eventually we realised it doesn't have to be perfect.
No, of course
just needs to be out there.
But one thing is we've majorly learnt, okay, and it's not on Mike's fault. It's Mike's fault. It's the volumes up.
Well, what it means is it's the mic's fault.
It's the Mike's fault.
It's the mic.
As opposed to Mike.
Exactly. So I may as well introduce. I think I should introduce you now. So
That's
Belinda Roberts MBE. Do you get upset when somebody doesn't say MBE? It's like a doctor. You should call me by a doctor.
No, I don't get upset in any way.
What does that mean? Sorry for just
Member of the British Empire.
Yeah, but what does that mean? What does it mean? Because you can be a member of the British Order, or you can be a member of the British Empire.
So MBE is the lowest of them.
Oh, don't put yourself down.
No, that's not what I mean.
The lowest of the British Empire. I never know what to call them. Gongs, awards, honours is what they should be called actually. So mine was for services to business and entrepreneurship.
Well, that's fantastic.
Which is lovely. And it means that I'm allowed to get married in St Paul's Cathedral.
Oh, really?
And any plans?
Not at the moment.
Well, if you do,
never been there, so just an invite would be great.
Of course you can.
I've always wanted
how
to
does
check.
that come about, though?
Cordially be invited.
How do you get nominated?
Yeah,
Is
how
it
does that work?
how do you get recognised?
So that's all a bit of a mystery because I have, like many people, have absolutely no idea who nominated
Who
me
put you forward
for it. I have absolutely no idea.
Wow, that's phenomenal.
Do you know who it is? It's the curtain twitchers. It's the curtain twitchers. You see the people that are always nosy neighbours looking out the windows. It's people and you don't even know they're there. That's what it is. People are watching it all the time.
For me, it was a huge. Well, I think it's a huge surprise for anybody, obviously, because most people aren't told that you're being nominated because it's a very long process. So it's between 12 and 18 months to actually get through the nomination process because there are so many different committees that it goes through. So what I didn't realise, the first I knew was when someone at the Cabinet Office had got in touch via the website,
right,
saying that they needed to speak to me urgently. Of course, you can imagine
you think, I'm going to get deported.
Thinking, oh my goodness, what have I done? So I phoned this chap. I thought it was a bit of a wind-up, actually.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that, yeah.
Excuse me. So I Googled the phone number that he'd left, and I thought, is this actually legit or whatever? And it was. And I thought, and then I was still having a complete, and of course it was on a Friday, so I had the whole weekend to sit having a little panic to myself, thinking, what on earth is this all about? So when I spoke to him, and he told me that I was being awarded an MBE, and then he asked me if I was going to accept it, because not everybody does for various reasons.
Yeah.
Right.
And I said, yes, I am. And he said, well, we're in a huge rush because it's at the final stages, so I'm going to email your form that you need to sign to say that you're accepting it. And he mentioned the Prime Minister and the Queen, and it was at the time of Brexit. So bearing in mind that I was being awarded it for services to business and entrepreneurship, you would imagine there might be a smidgen of a brain cell there. And my response to that point was, is the PM not a bit busy with Brexit at the moment? And that way that you just completely put your foot in something immediately. And he started laughing, and I said, oh my goodness, I'm really sorry. I've probably just made the most stupid comment that I could ever possibly make. And he said, don't worry, he said, I've heard a lot more,
Worse,
a lot worse things than, than that.
But that's not an unreasonable comment. So when you say stupid comment, that's not unreasonable because at the time of no. So if you think about it logically, because I'd like to think I'm a logical guy. Okay, we're in Brexit, so the PM is busy doing that. So you would expect that 60% of his day is taken up with that, and 40% is taken up with partying, because that's what politicians do. They work 60%, they party 40%. Okay, that's how we get so many bad decisions.
Maybe they're all alcoholics.
Maybe, but I don't think it's. I think it's a valid question. I do from a logical perspective, but I mean it's a massive honor. I don't think you do yourself enough of a service, because if it's and it's important, I think, that people understand that it's a process. It's not. If you had been in Africa, it would be a brown envelope and a few guys that you need to know. But here, it's there's a certain honor in it. So
it is definitely a genuine process, and I have asked quite a few people. So you try and kind of guess who you think it might be, and the people that I thought it might have been who I've asked, and I think they would tell me the truth, but they've all said no. So to this day, I have no idea, and I was very, very lucky because I think it was the last investiture that the Queen did. So I actually received it from the Queen, who was absolutely amazing. So she knew all about WEDO and what I did and all the rest of it, which was good. Really, and it was very special because I got it on the same day as Doddy Weir got his OBE, and I'm a huge supporter and a Doddy champion for the charity, and also John Davidson, who you've probably heard about, the film that's coming out, which the name now escapes me, for which I shall be shot, but John Davidson, who has the film coming out about Tourette's, so he got an MBE the same day as well. So
there you go.
So it was really special because I was incredibly nervous, really nervous.
It's a great testimonial and recognition for the works, what you've done for other people. Yeah. The service, that's a great thing to think about when you, I must have impacted quite a lot of people, excuse me, for them to put across your name. I'd imagine that's how it works. So it is. I think it's great, fantastic. And I think that's a great segue into WEDO Scotland, because we've already just mentioned that name. What is WEDO Scotland for our listeners and our viewers out there?
So WEDO Scotland champions entrepreneurs, established entrepreneurs. So we are very much, our ethos is based upon sharing knowledge, ideas, experiences, talking about challenges, because I'm a very firm believer that entrepreneurs should and must support one another, because everybody, regardless of what sector, what industry, there is a journey there that every single entrepreneur faces. And I think, in my own experience as well, the things that I have, for the people that I've learned most from, are fellow entrepreneurs. And I love nothing more than getting a group of people around a table or along to an event and talking about the challenges that we've faced, asking questions, being curious, being inquisitive, and actually trying to negate some of the problems and challenges that entrepreneurs face by learning from others.
It's amazing. And that's similar to what we're trying to do here, but you've been doing it a lot longer than what we have. And I've been part of it. It is great. And I just champion it, to be honest.
Well,
the more the better for people like yourself. And
thank you very much.
So the businesses you've been involved in, you've been involved with quite a lot of businesses. What do you see as the kind of main challenges that businesses have other than politics?
Other than politics? Well, that kind of goes without saying, really, doesn't it? I think the one thing that comes up time and again, and it doesn't matter. So I set the business up 17 years ago. And that was obviously at the time of the financial crash.
Yep.
So quite a few people said to me at the time, that's a mad time to start a business. And I said, well, actually, it's not. Because that's when you're in challenging situations and challenging times, that's when you need that support more than ever.
Yep.
And also, I firmly believe that if you start a business in a challenging time, like now is, so now is not a great deal different to how things were in the financial crash. If you manage to get through that, then you are in a really super strong position by the time that things recover.
Yep.
When the recovery is going to happen in the current situation, not entirely sure. But the one thing that comes up all the time is the plateau that businesses get to. So, you start off, you're hugely enthusiastic, it's brilliant, you've got this idea, it's fantastic, it's great, let's go. You start, you're off, you're running, and your growth curve's going like that. And then you get to that plateau.
Yep.
And that's where a lot of people find it really difficult. So how do you get off that plateau? How do you move up to the next stage? And very often, and the thing that I've heard constantly over the last 17 years is the investment and funding and cash flow. So that, I think, is the biggest challenge that the majority of businesses face. And obviously with the way that things are at the moment, with the national insurance increases, the tax increases in Scotland, I will quote Sir Tom Hunter, who said, you'll never achieve economic stability and growth through taxes, which I 100% agree with.
Me too.
What you see on your journey with WEDO Scotland and your previous businesses, what do you think is the one attribute that an entrepreneur has?
The ability to take risks.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Absolutely, the ability to take risks. Because I mean, I've lost count of the number of people who put their houses on the line. Some cases put their relationships on the line. To actually be able to take that next step or to take that initial step in the first place. But I mean, there are lots of things. I'm asked that question all the time. What are the traits of an entrepreneur?
All right, okay.
I can sit here all day and come up with traits of an entrepreneur, but passion would be another one. And actually, I think for early stage businesses, it's actually doing that initial research to find out whether there is actually a market for whatever it is that you're planning to deliver. And that research is not with your family and friends.
Yeah.
Because with the greatest respect, your family and friends, of course they're going
to lie to you. Of
course they are. They're going to say,
they don't want to hurt your feelings.
Exactly. They're going to say, that's a brilliant idea. But they don't actually speak to the people who they are going to be delivering that product or service to. And that, I think, is a very common mistake. And I think that is a big contributor to why so many new start businesses fail. We don't work with new start businesses. We are much more for established entrepreneurs. But I think that's one of the most common things that new start businesses get wrong.
It's interesting you say that, because businesses go through cycles. They go 3, 5, 7, 10, and then they go again 3, 5, 7, 10. And then after 20 years, you're pretty okay. Yeah. And every one of those lifestyles and those cycles have got challenges. You say definitely challenges are one of the things, but definitely market validation, big word, but understanding that and understanding who your customer is and is your customer actually going to buy from you and why should your customer buy from you.
Yes.
But don't spend enough time on that, because everybody's got a great idea and they run off and they do it, and there's nothing wrong with it, okay? Because we learn as we learn. But if you just spent a little bit more time, because you're right, cash flow at the moment, cash flow for me is a consequence of sales, which we don't have enough sales, and then understanding that and understanding your numbers, and it encompasses so many things.
Yes.
But banks' primary purpose is to borrow money. But banks, now if you want to borrow money, you have to give them the right to your firstborn, 2 kidneys, and a liver. You know, so it's not conducive to the economy. And I think the banks, they've been stung in 2008, but we've moved on 20 years. Nearly 20 years from there. So definitely entrepreneurs, even if you're in an established phase, you need some funds for investment. Where do you go to? And generally people are afraid of debt. Entrepreneurs are normally not afraid of debt. They're not afraid because they understand how to service it. They understand the risks associated with it and how to leverage that. So
it's interesting as well, because I think more and more people are going down the route, and I know this from speaking to one of our previous Entrepreneur of the Year winners, chap called Andy Tate from Sallyport Commercial Finance, who's actually chairing our funding and investment panel at the conference.
Right.
And he, when I spoke to him the other week, he was saying that he's got a bit of a bee in his bonnet about the personal guarantees that people are having to give. Because as you say, it's an arm, a leg, a kidney, a heart, and every other part of you. And it's interesting because invoice financing is obviously a completely different way to do that. So for anybody who doesn't know about invoice financing, it's basically when you submit invoices and you can get that money up front, which really helps in terms of cash flow.
Especially when you're in the commercial sector, when you're waiting 30 to 60 days, sometimes even 90 days. And it's that crisis management. We talk about crisis management for our team if someone's off ill, sick, but we don't talk really about the finance side of things, the crisis management of managing the cash flow, the ins and outs.
Yeah.
So it's really important.
And on that point, it's become more difficult to get funding. You're right. Even invoice financing, they want personal guarantees from directors. But they also now, they're looking at your client who you're supplying to, and they have got penetration risks. So this client can't be more than 30% and 40%. And when you start up, that client is probably 90% of your business.
Yes, exactly.
So you can only get 40%. It's really tricky out there. And it's interesting, Belinda, that you say that, because you're talking with established entrepreneurs, but they face exactly the same challenges, just on a much bigger scale than startup entrepreneurs. Yes. And it's just interesting that when we talk about it, it's drawing that connection around it. Do you see specific industries that are under pressure, more pressure than other industries at the moment, or do you think they're all under the same amount of pressure?
I think it's pretty much across the board. The only sector that I think isn't at the moment is the defence sector, which is a bit of a kind of fiery topic for many people. But my brother's Director General of Mate UK Defence down south, which is part of Mate UK, which basically represents the manufacturing sector. And so he is Mr. Defence, knows everything about it, and we talk about it a lot. And that sector, for the worst possible reasons that you could ever imagine, with all the wars, etc. But that sector is absolutely flying. Yeah, absolutely flying.
No, it was interesting because at the weekend, I'm not saying any names, but it was interesting having a conversation about missiles and the people that are involved in them and how much money they're actually costing. $5,000 to fire that one, 30 grand to fire that one. Yeah. Like, wow. You don't know what you don't know, but it's just interesting, especially. So what I'm meaning by that, it's interesting when you're not in a category business, but when you've got a thirst for knowledge that you will have, and you meet so many different people from creative backgrounds, and you learn so much about an industry just by listening. You go, wow, I never knew something like that existed.
Yes.
It's interesting because war is a business. Make no mistake about it. War is a business. If you look at American presidents, a little bit of conspiracy here, but Bill Clinton, which is best known for, what's Bill Clinton known for?
He liked a cigar.
There we go.
He's very side the box.
So that guy, he actually cut defense spending in America to less than $1 billion. And when he was not re-elected, he came to the end of his term and George W. Bush took over. Now, if you believe in conspiracy theories or not, 9/11 happened shortly after, probably 8 or 9 months into the job. Defense spending jumped from something like 800 million to 3.5 billion. And it's always stayed at that sort of thing. So wars do sell. And the interesting thing about a war, it's the innocent people that are casualties.
Yes,
but
exactly.
But there's a lot of profiteering in there's a lot of companies that are a component in defense spending. And defense spending is becoming more and more critical because the Americans have got that doomsday clock, and for the longest period it was like 5 minutes to 12. So we were 5 minutes away from self-destruct. Now it's at like 1 minute to 12, 60 seconds away from a bad decision. Okay, and when I look at the news, I'm like, this is very plausible that we could have World War III. It's very plausible at the moment.
But on a more positive note,
sorry.
It was interesting actually. So when I was talking to my brother a while back, not that relatively recently actually, and he was talking about the massive challenge that there is in terms of welders, which within the defence sector. So there's a huge challenge with that. So Mate UK Defence have actually put forward a proposition to the government, that and others, that they look at taking out vendors and putting them through welder entrepreneurships, which I think is a brilliant idea. So I was on the board of Young Enterprise Scotland many years ago for 4 years, and I spent quite a bit of time at the Young Offenders Centre at Pullmont, and which I'd never been in an environment like that in my life before. But we were running the schools programme whereby they set up a business, run it, and then close it down. And it wasn't what I expected at all when I went in there. And I was actually quite nervous because I thought, my goodness, what's this actually going to be like? It wasn't an environment that I'd ever been in before. And I met some of the most remarkable young people in Pullman Young Offenders Centre, and they were so utterly determined that they were not going to go back to their previous life and the reasons that they had ended up there in the first place. Obviously, not everyone was like that, but the determination, I remember, it really sticks in my mind talking to a guy who was in for a fairly major offence, which did give me
you were a little bit nervous.
Bit of a shock, because I said, can you ask why people are in you? And said, yeah, of course you can. So, and I did, and got a bit of a shock with the answer. But and I said to him, Harry, because obviously the reoffending rates are enormous, they're huge, and I think they're probably even worse now than they were back then. And I said, how are you going to stay safe when you get out of here? what do you have to do differently to make sure that you're not going to end up as one of those reoffenders? And he said, I cannot go back to where I came from. He said, I need to go to a completely different area. I need to be away from my family, which is a huge thing to do. I need to be away from my family. And he was absolutely determined that he was going to train as a barber. And that was what he wanted to do.
Just reinvent himself, huh?
This is the thing about prejudgments. How much, the normal Joe Blog to an entrepreneur, we take risks. We try and not prejudge. And because I've written on my sheet to ask you about prejudgments and how that can stop people growing. But what you've done there, you've just spoke about that, going out of the prison and realising they're a person for good and bad, but it's when you break down it all and you understand why they've done what they've done, because I think we spend too much time prejudging and not asking why. What are the reasons? It's like when you see somebody begging, somebody's homeless, society will walk past them, like, just spend a little bit of time about asking a question on them. And it's back to what we were saying before when Anna Black just left there. The gift of giving to people is remarkable. What you can get out of it is a selfish act and a selfish act, because you like that dopamine rush for helping someone.
Yes.
And I generally not thought of that about ex-offenders, re-offenders, all of that. I'm thinking there is a marketplace for that. And I suppose that's where Mark Blair comes in with his business.
Exactly.
Let's give them the soft skills and the nourishment to try and create a better version of themselves.
Yes.
Before they just go to work. It's a great way of doing it.
So just a question, entrepreneurs, born or made?
Born, I think. Although there's a bit of them that can be made.
Yeah.
Through failures.
Through failures, I think it's a really hard one. And if I had £1 for everybody that had ever asked me that, I'd be
You'd be a billionaire.
Sitting here very rich, which I'm not, obviously. But anyway, it is a really difficult question to answer. I think there has to be an inbuilt curiosity and passion and enthusiasm there. But the actual skills in terms of the knowledge, so knowledge of sales, knowledge of marketing, knowledge of finance, all those kind of things can be taught.
Yep.
But I've got lots of friends who sit and laugh in inverted commas at what I do, not least because I've had one business that failed, one that I decided to stop. So I've been there, done the T-shirt and made every mistake under the sun. And I've got some friends who have sat and said to me, there is no way on this holy earth that I would ever do what you've done. I would be too scared, or I couldn't think of anything worse, and it's just not for me. So I think quite a lot of people need that kind of corporate and inverted commas bubble around them.
Safety.
And that's fine.
Yeah,
that's
you need
great.
people like that
but
as well.
of course you do, exactly.
So, sorry, I've got one for you then. What motivates you then?
Business and people. So I am, and it's such a cliche, but I am a people person. I need to be around people. So I started my career, probably one of the few humans in the entire universe that decided I was at Napier and decided that I wanted to work in recruitment, which had a pretty bad reputation at the time because it was very, very salesy. So I'm talking sort of early 90s. And it was extremely salesy. And through that, I had exposure to so many different businesses, to so many different sectors. And that was in the day. Recruitment has changed massively since then. But when I went into it, you spent most of your time out visiting clients. So I was in factories with plastic things over my shoes and hair nets on and the Lord alone knows what all. And I think I am by nature a curious person. I used to say nosy, but I was told I had to change that word because that wasn't the best word to actually use. But I am genuinely curious. So I had this fantastic exposure from the age of 21 to all these different businesses, and I found it absolutely fascinating. Partly, I think, driven by my mother, my father had his own business, which was a family business. But my mother was a journalist. So in the late 80s, sort of mid to late 80s, she was one of the first journalists in Scotland to start writing about women in business. which is quite interesting when you now look at how huge female entrepreneurship has become. But she took me round to a few of her interviews with these amazing female entrepreneurs who were based in Scotland. And as a kind of sort of mid-teenager, I found that absolutely fascinating. So I think I probably inherited that inquisitive gene from mum, also driven by the fact that she took me along and I sat in the background and listened to these absolutely phenomenal stories.
So, difficult question, maybe done, maybe controversial. We're in 2025. Yeah, we should all be equal. Yeah?
Yes.
Are we all equal? Is it more difficult for a female in business than for a male?
I'm a little bit controversial about this whole topic, actually.
Great. That's great.
Well, that's why it's a controversial question.
But I am a female entrepreneur, so I can say it.
Oh, come on, let's see that.
It is more difficult, I think, for women. I think it has changed enormously over the years, but I think that perhaps we have gone a little bit too far the other way. So I have had quite a few male entrepreneurs, and I do not like differentiating between the two, but I've had a lot of men who have said to me that they are actually now beginning to feel discriminated against because the sole focus from the Scottish Government, public sector agencies, etc., not all of them, seems to be on female entrepreneurship. So wherever you look, whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's news, wherever you look, everything is focused on female entrepreneurship. And I think that is a little bit unfortunate.
I think it is a difficult question. I mean, it is a controversial question because, in 2025, everybody expects everybody to be equal, but it is difficult out there for both men and women. For any entrepreneur who starts out there, it is difficult for both of them.
Why is it difficult?
No, it doesn't matter if you're male or female.
Why is it difficult?
For any entrepreneur that starts out there, it's a massive, difficult mindset shift. So if you think about you working for the bank, to go out on your own is scary. That's why when you said what is one of the traits, risk, you need to be able to take risk. Not everyone wants to take risk because you're going to have to take out a loan. What's your appetite for paying back that loan? Can you do that?
So it's only difficult for the people that are willing to endure a little bit more pain than the other person.
Yeah, so you have to have that certain. So I think there has to be an amount of resilience in you where you go.
So the percentages. So hear me out. I'm calm, keeping it calm. The percentage will all remain the same. So if you didn't change a thing with the society, like
doesn't matter.
Nursery, school, bringing people up the same way, even though it does change with young families and whatnot, but if you don't really change that, it'll still be the same outcome. No, you take male and female, yes, they're different. You have fertility rates, that's crashed now. So maybe that encourages more female entrepreneurs, but it's you're either born an entrepreneur or you learn. But it won't. It's nothing to do with us and what we believe. It'll just happen automatically and authentically. If you've got the gumption, the drive, the determination, you'll become what you're going to become. Mm-hmm. Without any outside, in a way, outside help.
I mean, there are challenges and they're not unique to women. But just if you look at the kind of traditional roles that women had, they were at home looking after the children. A lot of them. Mm-hmm. So. Yes, I mean, that the whole childcare situation is a huge challenge. I mean, if you look at Kate Forbes and the amount of childcare that's available at Holyrood,
right.
and she's not alone. It's not just because she's Deputy Prime Minister or happens to work at Holyrood. That is a huge challenge. I remember years ago looking for investment for a business which we started, but we didn't actually continue it for various reasons. But I was in, so it was me and another two people who were both men. And we ended up pitching to angel syndicates. And every single one, without exception, that I pitched to was a room full of men.
Right.
And there were no females there whatsoever. So if you look now even at that landscape, there are more women investors now and more women in angel syndicates. In fact, there are a couple that are led by women, which is fantastic. But it's a really controversial subject, and anybody that's watching this who is a female entrepreneur, I'm not saying that it's easy for you. I'm not saying that at all, because it is difficult.
You have to give up a lot. So like if a female as well, I'm saying they're both equal. But the same opportunities of outcomes is no, it's not going to happen. However, to be at the top of your game is, I'd imagine we'd all agree, you have to give up friendships.
You have to make sacrifices.
You have to give up family. There's so many sacrifices, and most men, the lone wolves, the lone rangers, the eagle flying above, they're willing to do that. But with women, it's harder because they might want something different, and because they carry children. So if they don't do it, then they know they can get to the top if they do. I'm not saying they can't all get to it, but there's a massive sacrifice for them to get, for both male and female. And that's why there's just, 1% of the world is introverts. You're like Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, Warren Buffett. It leaves clues. They are introverted and they're lone wolves. They don't mingle very well, but they've got a desire, and their life becomes really quite basic. They're no interest in the money. It's the drive for entrepreneurship. Not everyone's got it. So I heard the breath there.
We do have another guest in the room, just if you're hearing little noises. Oh, pal. So maybe we should introduce you. Eh?
Whoa. That was I'll put that other impression. That's Maisie, folks.
She did bark at Johnny earlier.
Everybody barks at Johnny.
In an excited manner.
Let's see you.
I think she loves me.
I think she does.
Well, we know that you're the dog
We all
whisperer.
love you, Johnny.
Oh, thanks so much.
So here's a question on, this is a bit different, but like pitching to angel investors, pitching in general, what's the process that you've gone through with that then? Because that's something we haven't really touched on at all on any podcast yet. Just a quick answer.
Quick answer. Well, the number. Quick answer. You know me better than that, Michael. The thing that a lot of people struggle with is putting their pitch deck together. So that is really difficult, and I would.
How long should a pitch deck be? So quick 5 questions here for you.
Oh my goodness, I'm going to have everybody in Angel Syndicate shooting me now because I'm probably going to give completely the wrong answers. I would say it shouldn't be any more than 10 slides, personally.
Okay.
You probably know more about that than me.
I agree with you. I think anywhere between 10 and 15 slides. If you can't nail your pitch between 10 and 15 slides, they're not going to put money in it because they have to be confident.
Why do you have to put slides on there? I'm assuming a pitch,
a pitch deck, yes.
A platform where you're trying to showcase
platform,
what your ideas are.
So when I ask you for money, are you just going to give it to me?
Well, if you like me. No, I understand, but...
No. So the pitch deck...
Are they having to buy on visualization or vocal impact? What are they buying?
The visualization is just an aid to help them come to a decision, because you have to sit in front of the people.
Like a made-up chart on the wall.
You have to stand and make a presentation, basically. So and you need it to... Well, also, that's the first thing that... If you're considering an angel syndicate and want to go and speak to them, you have to submit a pitch deck.
So they can understand. So what they want to understand, they want to understand who's your market, who's your customer, what does the number say. They want to understand that before they even meet with you. So they just want to understand. They want to understand about your business, because you don't get to talk to them. They've got very good gatekeepers. Because they aren't. I don't know. There's different schools of thought, but I think angel investors, previously they would make money on maybe one in every 2, one in every 3. I think it's now 1 in every 5. It's not as lucrative as it used to be. No, so that's why they need that type of thing. So sorry, Michael, we hijacked your question.
Yeah, sorry, Michael. I'm not really hearing you that much.
So getting that pitch deck right in the first place is hugely important. Knowing your numbers, which is pretty obvious, but again, people need to know that.
Sorry, because these guys know. I think your business, your numbers, your responsibility. You need to know them inside out. Okay. Yep. So when you talk to people, just technical tips. What do they need to know about their numbers?
They need to know what they need to know what the projections are. The projections need to be realistic. They need to make sure that the cash flow is actually going to enable the business to do all the things that you say it's going to be doing. And everybody says it. Profit, you need to keep a really close eye on that as well. And my best advice would be to get the absolute best accountant that you possibly can get.
Accountants are controversial. So
no, we've got one. Linda Nelson.
No. We've got a good accountant. We've got a good accountants. But yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. It is interesting. Whenever I talk, the difference between mediocre and exception is when you sit with a guy and he goes, you know what? My business has grown by 10%, but I can tell you that I've increased my prices by 3%, and that my footfall, I'm selling more products, is 7%. That is the absolute epitome that you want to get to. But that doesn't happen because we're not, and this is one of my sort of things, is we don't have enough people teaching about how important numbers are,
Correct.
what to look at. And it's, it's like lifting the hood. When you have an accountant, and Johnny will tell you, so we sit with the accountant and they go, oh, you've had a good year. Tell me something I don't know. I can see it in my bank balance, I can see it in my numbers.
Yeah.
But they never lift the hood and go, why did you have a good year? Tell me about your customers. Are you selling more? How do you price? That type of thing is what I think is just a greater education. Because you can, with the greatest will in the world, you can chat GPT, all of what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But do you know how to implement it? Do you know how to execute it?
Yes. And you're absolutely spot on about that whole education piece as well. And that is not... that we're not getting that right in any way whatsoever. I mean, it's interesting if you look at a lot of entrepreneurs, because one of the main topics that they really don't like and don't enjoy, excuse me, is the financial side of things and the numbers. It's a bit dull. It's not, they'd rather be out
fancy.
there going, no, and it's not the, I love this is my business, this is what I do.
Let me see the numbers.
How can we help? How can we work together? And you don't get it. They're presented with their end of year accounts, and it's like, oh right, okay, yeah, well, and as you said, because I know I've had a good year, but drilling down into that
doesn't give them the dopamine rush.
No,
turning something into something is where they. I shy away. That's why I let you deal with that side of things. I'm like, aye, right, I'll just let me get something in. You need to know it. It's really important. I get that.
Yes. But when you're in those early stages, well, not necessarily even early stages, but when you're at either the early stage or the growth stage, then you absolutely must know that.
You need to, when you're at that plateau, you need to be better than your competition at it. You need to understand it better. You do need to understand your numbers better.
Exactly.
You need to understand what makes you money, what doesn't make you money, where you're losing, it's just that education piece to me is pivotal in businesses. And I want to say this, it's never ever big things. It's never ever big things. It's little things. It's like understanding your customer journey. Okay, little things, communication. We all say we communicate.
Yes.
But actually we don't, because communication is a two-way street.
Of course it is.
It's like, also I've heard things from my major, I don't like it. You see when people say, my USP, go and shut up. USP, unique selling point.
Nah.
Do you know what? It's not a thing. What I would agree though with, as you've said, it's just getting the small things in your business just incrementally better than anybody else. So if you're in the service industry, answering the phone with 3 ringtones, taking a customer on a really good customer journey, even if it's a shop, making sure your windows are always clean. The papers are always stuck neatly down on the window. All of the mats are always clean. It's small detail, but thousands of them. Yeah. Thousands of small little details that make, because when your competitors come in, they go, I can't put my finger on what it is they're doing. It's better. It's everything. That's a USP, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, so I don't believe in unique selling points. And that's a personal thing, because I think unique selling point can only be unique if it can't be easily replicated. So when they brought out face recognition, that's unique, because it's only one guy that owns the patent to it, and then he licenses it to everybody else. Okay, so that's unique. But I mean, if you think about joiners, my unique selling point is I give service. So you're saying other people don't give service? So I question things like that. So there's a little bit of a controversial opinion.
No, it's not at all, and I completely agree. And I'm talking about someone who used to work in the recruitment sector when I first started my career, and that was sell. And I loved it, thankfully. I really enjoyed it. And I then subsequently set up a sales and management, or started doing sales and management training specifically within the recruitment sector, and then branched out into other sectors and actually ended up carving quite a niche in the motor trade sector. And now that has got, along with double glazing salespeople, apologies to anybody who happens to sell double glazing or is in the motor trade, but those two sectors have got an appalling reputation, as we all know.
Big stigma on them, eh?
Absolutely awful. And when I look back now to, so Eastern Western Motor Group, and I'm not giving them a deliberate plug, but they were one of my biggest clients. And after I actually sold my training company, I was on a full-time contract with them looking at customer service and sales across all aspects of all their franchises. So that was from sales to parts to service, everything.
That's awesome.
And I loved it. It was absolutely brilliant. One of the most entertaining and fun things that I did, well, it was obviously serious as well, was doing sales training with the guys that sold trucks and HGVs, which was brilliant. So their faces, I will never forget the first time I walked into the boardroom at Newbridge, and you could see them looking at me thinking, who's she? Is she here to make the coffee or what? Why is she here? And then I'm standing at the front going, right, well, we're going to do the sales training today. And they all were absolutely gobsmacked.
See, like for your sales training,
yeah.
And I don't know if if it's such a thing, but I'm just thinking out loud here. Would it not be advisable, if it's not already done, going into schools to teach them sales, like the art of communication? Because you hear this word,
yes.
It's all about communication, right? Give me an example of that. You know, I've talked about 1 to 20 game in the sales training. You know, vocalization, visual impact. You know, you're not going to go to a meeting dressed in your tracky bottoms and a holey t-shirt. So there's a visual impact people buy on. But do you not think there's a marketplace, a market for going into schools at a younger age, not just high school, by giving those, you know, not communication skills, that's the way you sell, but sales training, the reasons why?
Yeah, I absolutely do. I totally agree. I think that would be massively beneficial. I mean, the days of the kind of hard sell, per se, where you were taught all your closing techniques and your closing phrases and all that kind of thing, they thankfully are long gone. And it's now the epitome of sales, and a good salesperson, in my opinion, is somebody who recognises that you need to build a relationship. You need to communicate well, you need to build a relationship, and you need to build trust. So you shouldn't have to do a hard sell.
It's interesting that you say that, because the difference between, again, an excellent salesperson is how you made me feel at the end of that journey. But I saw a guy that had a client in the bank on a screen in sales, try to close him with a hard sell, dealing with objection handling. And I cringed, because the moment he said, well, what's stopping you from buying right now?
No.
I thought, you've just lost it. And the guy said, I just need some time to think about it. He goes, no, but, and the statistics are true. 97% of people that say that won't buy from you, okay?
Correct.
And that is true.
Yep.
But he lost that sale completely. And that's just interesting when you start looking at sales, is there would have been a better way to approach it, to say to him, listen, I appreciate you need to think about it. What if we pencil something in the diary in 2 or 3 days and we can just chat around any objections you might have? Much easier, doing the same thing, but not closing him there and then. Just it's a longer period, because people, they don't want to feel under pressure.
No, they don't at all. There's nothing worse. It's one of our members, I don't know if I'm allowed to say the name of his business, and it's not a blatant plug.
You can,
absolutely.
So Peter Bartley.
£100?
Peter, I love you. I love that. It's good sales technique, Johnny.
Soft touch.
So Peter Bartley's got Sales Geeks, and he's got a very long and very, very successful sales career behind him. But Sales Geeks, you would probably automatically imagine, they're doing sales training, which they are. They are delivering sales training. But he is on a mission to change the perception of sales, because you say the word sales and it is still a dirty word.
Yep.
So people kind of go, oh my God, that's awful. And I look at our events that we have, and we have a no sales policy. So we mention the dirty word that people don't want to talk about and run away horrified at. But the reason that we have that is very much founded on, and I started it because it is my belief, as I said before, that you naturally, sales will evolve with people that you trust and people that you build a relationship with. And if anybody, we'll all have been to networking events in the past, and networking's not got its best reputation either. And we've all been to events where you've been pinned up against the wall by somebody telling you, not asking you, not listening to a word you're saying, telling you that you need a new website, or you need this, or you need that, or whatever it is that they happen to do. And I am immensely proud that over 17 years, we do not have people at our events that do that. That's not their purpose. They're not there to sell one another. There's a huge amount of business done amongst our members, but that's done because of the trust and the relationships.
Just
and
nice
that's
and
the way it
organic.
should be done.
Yeah.
Well, I'll plug it. So for WEDO Scotland, we're involved in that. And I thought it was really nice. Then we got a meet up, and the person, Justine, was very interested in us. Sales or not sales, it was just nice. It was, this whole thing about being interested in people is interesting. Just but you also have to make sure you're always being authentic, because
Yes.
people can sniff it off when especially as entrepreneurs you're looking for. So I think it's great. And your event, so that's at Johnny Walker. For people, is it
We've got
always
breakfast on Thursday, yeah.
Yeah, so Johnny Walker, and the group that I went into, everybody was willing to talk. It was, when you go into the weddings, I always think this fascinating. When you go to weddings, you've got the unwanted family. They have to sit in the corner. Then you have the people they're just a bit abrasive, so you put them in a corner, and then you get the other people that just congregate in the bar, and then you've got the dancers and things. You just have pockets of everybody. And in networking, you find that, because there's some people in networking, you go, you shouldn't be here. You shouldn't be in networking. And I loved it, because when I went into the networking event, my brain was like, please, I don't want to know anybody. I don't want to know a soul in here. And I never knew one person in there. And there must have been 40 people, maybe more actually in there. I'm like, I don't know anybody. This is amazing. I want to have so much fun.
Yeah.
And it was great. It was absolutely great. And the speakers that you had on were fantastic. Kira Reagan, Rossford Dofos.
Yes.
It was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So well done. And it's a great venue as well.
Thank you very much. I think the authenticity side of it is hugely important to us. And I have a very severe allergy to egos. Unfortunately, I say that all the time, but I genuinely do. And nobody, I don't think, wants to hear the rose-tinted glasses. And there are a section of entrepreneurs out there who you listen to or you hear or you meet, and you would think they've never faced a challenge during their entire business journey. And that is a load of absolute tosh. As I said, I could write a book on the number of mistakes that I've made over the years. Don't think anybody would ever want to read it, and I shan't be writing it, but it's okay. But the people that are on that, it's all been amazing, it's been fantastic, and I did this and I did that and I achieved this and I achieved that. Well, actually, my response to that is, that's great, fantastic. What mistakes did you make along the way? What challenges did you face? How did you overcome them? That's what's important, and that's what I think shines through, which is why we meet anybody who wants to join WEDO. So they don't fill out an application form and we then send them an invoice. So we either meet them online or we meet them face-to-face, preferably, wherever we can, because we want, and apart from anything else, if you're running an organisation which is supporting and championing entrepreneurship, you need to get a level of knowledge about those people and their businesses and what makes them tick. And then it means that when we do introductions to people, so that could be for something like collaboration, or it could be because it's somebody that's at a different stage of their business that they might be able to help and give some advice to somebody. It could be someone who is looking for a specific service. But when you can't do that if you have somebody filling out an application form, pinging out an invoice and, here you go, right, these are our events, come along.
Yeah.
And that's back to that authenticity piece again.
Personal touch as well. People want to feel valued and recognised, all these things. Because it's hard. It's hard being an entrepreneur. It's hard. It's up and down. But there's just that. You just see it's a glint in their eye. That's that drive, that determination. No, you can visit the downtimes. You can visit them, but you've got to get away from them as well.
Yes.
And it's really important. Like when we talk about the 6 points of separation, when you find a group, a tribe, whatever you want to call it, of 4, 5, 6, 7 people, it's amazing. What you can achieve in that little group, it's huge. But because they're all got the same mindset. I want to help you. I want to push you, and I want to listen to you to see where you're failing or where I can help you rise up again. It's remarkable. It is. Michael, I feel you've got a question.
I've not got a question. I'm just listening to what's going on. But I like to listen. There's, I think, asking for help's a big thing. Like we have chatted about it before, but there's not enough people ask for help. Even we've got the last Lauren, who's working for a local electrical company, are doing really well, got a lot of growth, and she's on the business development side of things, but it's quite new to her. So, but she has asked for help. And we've sat, and I know she's sat with other businesses, and just went through marketing funnel, different ways that she could try and get business in, and they do have different sort of avenues of revenue that they've got going in. So, and she's sat there for an hour and just like a sponge soaking it all up, and then she'll go away on her journey and grow. So I think that's a major thing, is just asking for help.
It absolutely is. And shame is far too strong a word to use, but I think there's an element of embarrassment.
And pride,
And pride in thinking, well, I can't ask that because I'm going to look stupid. You never ask a stupid question. There's always a reason behind a question.
Yeah.
So to you, it might seem, this is really stupid, I shouldn't be asking this particular question. But it's far better to ask that question and then not make the mistake or get the help that's actually going to drive you forward and help you.
Rather than digging a hole.
Yeah.
Well, it's like when you're in a group, sitting and everybody's talking about stuff, I'm like, I've not got a clue what you're talking about. Hand up. Tell me, because I don't mind being the stupid one in the room. But when I leave it, I need to understand it.
But you won't be the only one either.
I know, there's a lot of people who know, I'm like, I'm not saying nothing, I don't want to appear stupid. I will, don't worry, I'll do it for you.
So events then, what events have you got coming up? What's going on with you just now that we should be attending?
That's very good.
Yeah,
We'd be delighted
need to do more.
Hear that. So we've got a supper club coming up at the end. Well, we've got breakfast this week actually,
Thursday,
with Nikki Gibson from Swerve, which is going to be great. Nikki's brilliant. I've watched her journey over the years. So she set up a business during the pandemic to help support the hospitality sector, and also to create a sense of community within lone workers and remote workers. So it's driven a big amount of revenue. They're working with 400 plus venues across the UK now, so it's fantastic. So we've got that coming up. We have a supper club at the end of October, and
which are really good. I love the supper club.
The supper clubs are great, and we actually had our first Insights lunch 2.5 weeks ago, which was a huge success. So that's not with a speaker per se, that's with a thought expert. So it's on a specific topic, and we're very fortunate to have Hampden Bank supporting those.
Very good.
That took place in their beautiful offices in Charlotte Square. And our big flagship event before the end of the year is the conference, which is on the 12th of November.
Just let you know, when I'm coming, my birthday's 2 days after it.
After the conference?
Yeah, just...
Would you like us to do something for that?
I don't mind a present. I can take it. I won't open it until the 14th.
We'll remember that. We'll buy you a drink at the bar.
Well, so how did people find out about you then, Belinda?
So they go to the website, the old website, I have to say. So at the moment we're having anybody that's been on our website will really appreciate the fact that we are at last having a new website done. So I am in no way, as can be seen from our current website, a web designer, but I sat, it must be 5 years ago now, looked at the web, maybe longer than that, looked at the website and thought, I don't really like this very much. And in a moment of complete and utter madness, which again, common trait for an entrepreneur, thought, I'm just going to build a new website. Never done it in my life before.
Right.
So did it, and then of course went down this extremely deep rabbit hole, which turned into about 500 burrows as I was sitting thinking, I have got absolutely no idea. And I knew what I wanted it to look like, but then I was having to Google how to code, and technical things and me just do not agree. We're not the best of friends. So anyway, that was the old website, which is still there, but we're having a new website done at the moment. So everything about us, including events, information about the conference will be up today. So by the time anybody looks at it, it'll be there. So it's wedoscotland.com. And thank you very much indeed for letting me plug all of that.
That's all good.
You're very welcome. And do we have a special button?
We do have a special button. This is how we end all our podcasts.
This is your world.
Shape it.
Or someone else will.